So let's see what the biggest and baddest of the new Tyranid monsters can do, with a look at the chunky stat lines and the massive special rules of the Norn Emissary and Assimilator. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're taking a look at the Norn Emissary and what it can do in game. Games Workshop have been kind enough to give us a small preview of the model before the codex comes out this weekend. This model is perhaps the centerpiece of the new Tyranid range release, a dual build kit that either brings the psychic Norn Emissary or the more brute strength and raw force of the Norn Assimilator. It's going to be one of the biggest plastic kits of the Tyranid range, maybe kind of similar to things like the Tyranids and the Turvagon in terms of volume maybe, but standing fairly significantly taller given that it's on its hind legs. The law for these things is they basically have a single-minded task that they go out to either destroy one thing or achieve one critical objective for the hive mind. They describe them as kind of like a living hive mind missile when the Tyranids are under too much threat from any one thing. Kind of nice and perhaps makes them into a bit of an alpha boss, even if they're not really quite the actual proper commanders like the hive tyrants are. The kit's going to be £70, €90 or $115, maybe around about what you might expect for a model of that sort of size and stature from Games Workshop at least. And from this article from Games Workshop, they've told us a bunch of its new rules, though obviously we'll not really be able to say exactly how strong it will be until we know the points costs. I think my first instincts are though that it probably is going to be looking kind of good. My guess would be that it will be somewhere in the range of 200 to 300 points once it comes out. Not 100% definite though, and we don't know all of its weapon stat lines or special rules. Whether it's good or not might depend on how high or how low it is on that spectrum. Let's jump into the previews though, and first up we've got the new profile for the Norn Emissary. Perhaps one of the most standout things is that it does look really quite tough to take down. Toughness 11, a 2+ save with a 4+ invulnerable save, and as we'll see in a second it can get a 5+ feel no pain as well. It's got 16 wounds like the Tyranids. It might not have quite the same sort of toughness stat line as that, but getting a 4+ invul save is really quite a massive bonus. It's going to keep it safe against the highest threat anti-tank weapons and Melter. Overall seems solid enough. How tanky it is for the cost will depend on the points of course. Otherwise it moves fairly quickly at 10 inches, though we'll need to negotiate terrain as a big ground-bound monstrous creature. It's got leadership 7 and is synapse, and gets objective control 5, which will help on objectives but maybe not dominate them unless you get more via its special rule. Games Workshop have said that it gets the synapse special rule but isn't a character, so you can't give it enhancements or anything. I guess that's handy enough to have advancing in the front ranks alongside other bugs in the swarm. On leadership 7 and 3d6 leadership it does mean that it's pretty unlikely to fail morale though. Then the Norn Emissary gets a trio of different psychic shooting attacks. It's got a psychic tendril that you can either fire as a neuroparasite, neuroblast or neurolance. Different profiles that are going to be good against different targets. I'd say perhaps the primary firing mode that I consider would be the neurolance. That's 2 shots at 18 inches, strength 12, AP -3 and damage d6. A little bit on the random side, but getting melt 2 within 9 inches, so quite good anti-tank at that kind of range. Otherwise, probably second best might be the Neuroblast, clearing out some hordes with 2d6, strength 6, AP 2, damage 1 hits, not too bad against hordes or medium infantry. And I feel like perhaps the most specialised is the Neuroparasite one, that gives you 2 precision attacks at strength 8, AP 2 and damage d3. Really kind of depends on targets of opportunity. You'd have to roll very well to convert 2 failed saves with that, so most of the time it's only going to have the theoretical chance of killing an enemy character if they had 3 wounds or less. I feel like that one's kind of niche as you're not really very likely to kill a character unless you can combine it with other sources of sniper fire or they're already damaged from something. Overall it does maybe strike me that the range damage really isn't the biggest focus of the creature. It's almost certainly going to be stronger in melee. It is kind of annoying though that we haven't actually seen the melee stats for it yet, as I feel like they're perhaps going to be one of the most exciting bits. Perhaps the most interesting bit of the previews though are the special rules, and these are applicable to both the Norn Emissary and the Norn Assimilator as well. This one's called Singular Purpose to represent it going after that one target, and at the start of the first battle round you choose to either select one enemy unit and get 4 rerolls to hit and wound against that unit, or select one objective marker, quite likely one in the midfield I'd say would usually be best. And then if your Emissary or Assimilator can get within objective scoring range of it, it gets a 5+ feel no pain type save on it and a huge massive objective control of 15. Out of those two, I'd rate the objective scoring rule higher. that 5+ feel no pain is enormous durability boost, and you'd be able to trigger that quite easily. Just literally trigger it on an objective that you can move on to first turn. There usually should be one in the midfield there. And then there's enormous objective control of 15 is just going to be so helpful in keeping the point yours, even if your opponent has some chaff troops to move up to it. The damage rerolls seem okay, but perhaps just seem a little bit opponent dependent. They both need to have a unit that's worth using it on, and then your opponent has to put them within charge range of this guy. Maybe against some slow moving and mighty units moving up the board to fight you, it's going to be worth it. But I can't help but think that the vast majority of players are probably going to pick the midfield objective, or at least it will probably be the better pick for them. With that feel no pain, its defensive stats become pretty impressive, to be honest. Toughness 11, a 2+ save, a 4+ invulnerable, and then a 5+ feel no pain is just massively hard to shift. Obviously depends on the points cost slightly though. If it's very expensive, then that might not matter that much. I feel like it's odds on to be pretty efficient though with that kind of rule in play. Otherwise, we do also have a few previews for the Norn Assimilator as well, though we don't have the melee profile for this one either, which is kind of annoying. The variant build for the Emissary is a non-psychic one, though apparently it still gets the Synapse keyword and also still gets the singular purpose special rule. That's kind of helpful as it does look like a good one, to be honest. Its profile is basically the same as the Norn Emissary, a movement of 10, 16 wounds and a 2+ save, but it doesn't get the 4+ invulnerable as it's not getting the Zoanthrope style psychic barrier. Definitely going to be not quite as hard to take out, though again durability depends on whether it costs a lot less than the Emissary. If the Emissary costs twice as much, then that 4+ invulnerable wouldn't make it tougher per point. The main preview that we've got for the Norn Assimilator is the profile for its Toxin Injector harpoons though. These get 2 shots at 12 inches, strength 12, AP 3 and damage d6 +1, so kind of like 2 las cannon shots fired at that range. And then it gives you an extra special rule that if you hit an enemy monster or vehicle with that, you get to add 2 to the charge roll in the ensuing charge phase. I think from this preview, as best I can tell, it's not really clear whether this is the profile for both the Toxin Injectors or whether it's just one. I guess it does have 2 shots, which might imply 2, but it's written as just a singular, so you might get 2 of these potentially. Either way, I do kind of feel that the 12-inch range maybe limits this one a little bit, and maybe it's not going to be quite as meaningful as the melee profile. Maybe seems handy enough as a bit of a 1-2 punch though. You get to hit some vehicles pretty hard with this before charging in to finish the job. If this thing does get an unrestricted charge or an enemy tank or monster, then it's probably going to be in for a bad time. Again, kind of annoying not to be able to see the melee profile for this one though. It's mainly that and the points cost that we really need to judge how good they are. I feel like with the size and power of these things though, it's pretty likely that they get a sweep and strike mode and a fair few high power accurate attacks. Let me know what you make of them though. I feel like from this preview the rules look kind of positive, particularly the singular purpose one for the massive objective control and 5+ feel no pain. If they do wind up being quite efficient, then in theory you could even have multiple of these move up to multiple objectives, forcing your opponent to deal with at least one of them. That does seem kind of terrifying on paper at least. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly try and check back and make a proper review of this once we get some full rules from the Tyranid Codex. I guess we might start to see some previews for that later in the week. I'll hopefully cover the Codex in full as soon as I can. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see that. And as always, if you'd like to help support these videos coming, I would just like to mention that the channel has a Patreon page, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help support there. Channel patrons get to see some videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.